My friends, my dear friends, for better or for worse, this is not a sermon about Israel, although I am starting there. When Amy and I lived in Jerusalem back in 1995 for my first year of rabbinical school, I had to learn a lot more than Maimonides and prayer leading. There was an entirely new culture to navigate. For example, if we wanted a latte at a coffee house, we had to order it as a café hafuch. Hafuch is the Hebrew word for upside down. This is because in Israeli cafes, the steamed milk is poured first, followed by the espresso, the reverse of how lattes at Starbucks are prepared. I don't believe they were drinking lattes in the age of the Talmud. However, the term hafuch does come up in the Jewish literature of that time. In Masechet Bava Batra, there is a story about a Rav Yosef who had a near-death experience. When he recovered, his father, Rabbi Yehoshua, asked Yosef about it, and the son replied, I saw an olam hafuch, an upside-down world. Many of us know that Hebrew word for world, olam, quite well. It is in so many of our prayers. Melech, or ruach ha'olam, the ruler or spirit in the world, is basically on every page of the Siddur. Olam is also part of that ancient phrase so beloved by today's liberal Jews, including myself. Tikkun olam, the imperative to repair the world. Olam is also crucial to the holy day that we are observing right now. Although it is obviously a particularly Jewish holiday, Rosh Hashanah is presented by our tradition as a day of renewal for the entire universe. On this day, we declare Harat Olam. Today is the birthday of the world. A new start, not just for the Jewish people, but for all creation. This is why one of the Torah readings suggested for Rosh Hashanah services by the Reform movement is the very beginning of our scriptures, the creation myth in the Torah that contains the story our ancestors told about the olam, the world's very first birthday, the creation of the world. When we return to this story year after year, it gives us the sense of a fresh start. We do need that feeling now, don't we? I relate all of this to you because I have been feeling recently, and I know I'm not alone in this, that the world, or the way I see the world at least, the world of my values, assumptions, expectations, and aspirations, has gone hafuch. It's been turned upside down. Let me count the ways. 3 of the concepts that I have long held out as among the most sacred goals for our society, diversity, equity, and inclusion, those are now ridiculed, mischaracterized, and erased from the very top of our country's leadership. People who brazenly and often violently broke the law inside our nation's capital in front of our eyes have been pardoned and lionized as heroes. Foreign aid, basically tzedakah, from a great source of wealth that is designated to help those most desperately in need, has been suddenly and mercilessly slashed. World leaders who embody the ruthless efficiency of despotism and authoritarianism are embraced, while other heads of state who navigate the messier but far more pluralistic and free waters of democracy are demonized. Science and education have become arenas to degrade and decimate, severely weakening their abilities to further improve our lives, and in some cases, putting people at risk of life and limb. People who I believe need to be protected more by society are instead being made to feel more vulnerable than ever. A system of checks on power that our country was based on is giving way seemingly to a series of power grabs. This is an actual sentence from a recent news article that kind of reinforces my feeling of being upside down. In March, the United Nations considered a resolution to establish an International Day of Hope. The United States voted no. This is a chilling and yet still far from complete list. It is a sensation akin to reading our Torah's creation story in reverse, a de-evolution. It is important for me to remark at this juncture that I acknowledge that there are a significant number of people who see things in quite the opposite way. For them, what is happening now is making the world seem right side up after a long time in the hafuch wilderness. My spiritual state these days is to accept this reality, instead of fighting or invalidating it. I can't work up any animus towards those who seem to be the converse image of myself. Instead, I have gained a deep understanding of them. After all, I know exactly how they feel, just in reverse. I believe this sensibility grounds me and humbles me. I hope it keeps me from being a vengeful, disdainful, and judgmental caricature of myself. However, this acceptance that my worldview is not the only one out there, and that I have neighbors who are down when I am up, and vice versa, that will not stop me from believing that my compass is the far more accurate one in this fraught moment of history. It will not stop me from working for change, from speaking out against atrocities, from attempting to persuade people to agree with me that we have gone upside down. And it will not stop me from hoping for a profound shift back. Moreover, I must acknowledge publicly that despite my sense of unease, my actual life has not really changed much as of yet. My hafuch feeling is more internal. It is a sense of disorientation, disappointment, and foreboding. It is accompanied by an unsettling notion that there are those in my midst who are faring worse than me so far in this moment. I cannot shake the image of Bishop Marian Edgar Buddy at an important prayer service in her church earlier this year. This year. Gabe, this year? Thank you. Politely but firmly addressing a congregation, which included the newly inaugurated president, his family, and his top aides. This is what the minister said. I ask you to have mercy, she looked right in the front row, upon the people in our country who are scared now. I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. Alas, more than a year later, mercy for them has not come. I want to return to the Talmud story of the olam hafuch, the upside-down world that Rav Yosef got a glimpse of. I haven't disclosed the ending, the punchline of the story, so to speak. So when Rav Yosef described the world he saw when he died before coming back to life, he explained, those who are on top in this world are on the bottom there, and those on the bottom here are on the top there. It sounds suspiciously to me like the first one now shall later be last. What song? The times they are changing. There you go. Rav Yosef's father understood and gently corrected his son. You didn't see an olam hafuch, an upside-down world. What you witnessed was actually an olam barur, a clear world. What does it take for a revolution? For all of this to revolve from upside down to right side up once again? Perhaps one answer is in Rav Yosef's clear world. Synagogues, churches, mosques, neighborhoods, community centers, any group that is outside the reach of what I consider toxic values coming from the top can make of itself a more clear world. We cannot do anything about foreign aid right now. But in our communities, we can emphasize diversity, practice compassion, and offer protection to those who are marginalized and targeted. We can operate our own institutions with small d democracy and social justice and teach our highest values to our precious children. Creating these smaller worlds of clarity will help us maintain the vision of what can be created or recreated when the larger structures revolve in the direction that I desire. I also pray for humility, more humility. The humility to realize that even when the world does turn back my way, and it's kind of the way of the world, that it does revolve. We don't see it all the time, but we don't see what's coming. And sometimes what's coming is revolutionary. But when it does turn back my way, in our way, for those of you who are with me on this, we won't always get it right. We will mess up, and we will have to guard against overreach, which is always the origin of counter-revolution. One side overreaches, it turns one way. That side overreaches, it turns back the other way. I cut my activist teeth in the anti-apartheid movement of the 1980s, and I often think about the earth-shattering events of those years. The world couldn't have been more upside down for Black South Africans, and had been that way seemingly forever. Even for those of us who were paying heightened attention, the speed of that peaceful revolution, symbolized by Nelson Mandela going from prison to president in the blink of an eye, was breathtaking. And though it seemingly went right side up over there, it is still a work in progress. Far from perfect, both a hopeful example and a cautionary tale for those of us in the here and now. Self-care is imperative, but unlike the story in the Torah, there is no rest from the work of creation, creating the world that we want to live in and pass on. It is never fully complete, and sometimes we must start from scratch once again. So if you are feeling upside down, I hope this talk has made you feel less alone and a bit more inspired. If you feel differently than me, I pray that I have at least been respectful and tolerable. The good news for all of us is that after all these millions of years, the world can and will still be created and recreated over and over and over again. And to paraphrase Breshit, that is very good. It is Tov Ma'od. If you want to talk further with me about this, let's do so over a café, hafuch. Shanah Tovah.